Okay, Glenn, I think we are live.
Beautiful. How are you, Joe Sixpack?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Able to see you here. It's been a little bit of a weird. There we go. I got you back.
Yeah, nice to see you. We had a little bit of a rough opening, but we are here on Friday afternoon for a pandemic edition of Facebook Live. We hope everybody's doing well and staying safe and drinking a lot of beer. Joe Sixpack, things are starting to open up a little bit. I just want to, before we get into anything, ask you kind of your sense of how places are opening, how it is out there. Are people heading back to bars? What's happening?
Well, I think today is the first day for a lot of these openings, and they're, generally they have to open out for outdoor seating only. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a touch and go thing. I know that I saw at least one brewery, Love City, over in Center City, above Center City, is they don't even have any real outdoor area except for the sidewalk out in front of their place. So they've just thrown up a couple tables out there with 4 seats each. So basically 16 people can sit there, first come, first served. Not the best of situations, but everybody is anxious to get back out there.
Everybody is anxious to get out there, me included. By the way, great show today. Special guest, my pal, how does he say it? My pal, my amigo, my compadre, my old radio partner, Jody McDonald is going to be with us, which is going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk to Jody about all nature of beer and a lot of sports, because Jody is a great sports guy. I'm looking forward to that. And we're also going to talk, it's barbecuing season. So we are going to do I'm going to ask you, listen, I know how to run a grill. You know how to pick a beer. We'll put our talents together and find the right beer for the right stuff. All right? How does that sound? Okay, so let us begin with our beer swap today. And what's fun today is we decided we're doing 2 beers. Well, they're not the same variety, but both peach-oriented beers. You go first. What are we trying?
Okay, we do. We have our friends at Neshaminy Creek Brewing sent over beer, Beach Fuzz. Great name. Yeah. And it's got the typical kind of crazy art. I love this. The beach, the little show to the beach.
I think I saw that guy at the shore last summer.
Exactly. I heard this beer sold out almost immediately when they released it, which is pretty amazing because it's not an IPA, unlike so many of them, which we'll be tasting later on. This is a wit beer, a Belgian-style wit beer, a wheat beer with a
smell. The peach is immediately you get the peach.
Big time. A lot of big aroma from that. So I get, fruit can be a little bit of a dicey issue sometimes. I assume there's real peaches in this thing, but there's a little bit of a faux peach flavor there too. And I'm going to make the assumption that they've played with the hops a lot in this beer as well. Wit beer usually has a little bit more of a spicy character to it, and I'm not getting that in this beer.
No.
It's very refreshing. It's flavorful. I think a lot of people are going to like this beer.
Listen, I'm a fan of Neshaminy Creek. We've had a lot of their beers. Their Pilsner's lagers are really good. I am not a fan of this beer. I got to tell you, it tastes more to me like a hard seltzer than a beer, and you know my feelings on hard seltzers.
Yeah, I wouldn't go quite that far, but I do know your feelings. And, well, let's see.
All right.
Your end of it.
So here's the other. Our friends at Spellbound made a peach IPA. And it has got the name Spellbound Brewing Peach IPA. They put a lot of work into that. Let us see what it is. It's a 6.5% ABV. Yours was, a 5.5%?
That's right.
So here you go. Do you not have one of these?
I do. I just wanted to see what the glass was.
Oh, that's what the glass. It's my Super Bowl glass.
Okay.
I bring this out every week for this show.
I never saw.
Let's you compare the colors. This with the Spellbound, obviously, not as hazy, not as orange. I mean, it looks more like a conventional IPA.
Yeah, and actually, that's about right. You want that wit beer should be a little bit cloudy. This is clear as really good looking beer.
And it doesn't have the peach aroma as much.
Not as much, nearly as much. Yeah.
I like it. The peach is pretty faint. This one, the Neshaminy Creek, is peach forward. This one is an IPA with a hint of peach.
I totally agree with you, Glenn. And I'm not sure. Let me see if there's anything on the can here. But my guess is that chosen some hops here that are bringing out sort of the fruit flavor. A lot of times you see brewers use those mosaic hops, which have, I don't know if they have a peach aroma to it. I don't know if that's the case here, but there's a great bitterness in this beer. It's really, I think it's a very decent IPA.
All right, so let's take a quick vote of the two. We got the Neshaminy Creek Beach Fuzz. I like the name. I like the can. We got the Spellbound Peach IPA, and to me, the winner is Spellbound.
We're going to go with the Spellbound on this one, yeah.
All right. By the way, let's just report on what some of our friends are drinking. Mike Vrieswick, who's a great guest for us last week, starting the afternoon with a Voodoo Ranger American Haze. He does like the hazy IPAs. We know that. Kurt Barlow drinking Deschutes Fresh Squeezed IPA. Ross Hallion kicking off the weekend with a Neshaminy Creek Wayward Wheat. We probably would have liked that better. Katie Ann, happy Friday. Thank you so much. And Kathleen Montoni Bonini is drinking a raspberry wheat ale home brew. All right, well, good. Enjoy that. I never understood that. Well, I do understand the home brew. I'm never going to try the home brew because there's so much good beer out there.
Well, there's a lot of good home brewers out there as well, and I never turn one down. Sometimes I've had some outstanding homebrew over the years, not made by me, always made by somebody else that are.
All right. Let's cover some of the news before we get Jody McDonald to join us. Parks on Tap coming back this weekend, eh?
This is actually a little bit of a surprise to me, but as things are starting to open up, we have Parks on Tap coming out, and that's the popular mobile park that beer garden that moved from various parks around the city. They said that they're going to set up starting this weekend at the Fairmount Park Horticultural Center, and that's where they're going to be permanently, at least from now. It seems like this summer. And curiously, they've like everybody else, they've enacted some safety measures. And I think that one good, cool idea, because I've been wondering about this, how are you going to go to a bar with your mask on and drink beer? And their rule is that when you have to wear a mask unless you're sitting at your table with your friends, and then you can drink. So that's actually sounds like a pretty reasonable idea.
Yeah, I think that's generally the rule everywhere. By the way, Mike Bonner having a Boys and Berries by Barrier Brewing, a sour. Don't know that one.
No, I don't, but Boysenberry does show up in a lot of sours.
Mike Monteleone, he says 2 thumbs up for what we're drinking. I appreciate that. All right, let's cover a little more news here while we are at it. Other breweries starting to open. We talked about that a little bit. City, eh?
Unfortunately, we're seeing some breweries also close. Finally, this pandemic is hitting them. Just got word this week that Voodoo Brewing in Lancaster, my pal Bob Benash gave me the heads up on this one. They are closing their tap room in Lancaster, which was a popular spot. Sad news. I mean, they're still brewing. I love Voodoo beers. They're from western part of the state. Still see their beer, but not at that place. But the good news, meanwhile, is that Iron Hill, the local brew pub chain, has using this next week to open up their new Newtown location in Bucks County.
Nice, very nice. Good to hear that. And there's also interesting campaign against police violence taking flight, a big collaborative. What do you know about that?
I wish I had, we had a little bit of a technical issue when we got on here, and it's going to prevent me from sharing a terrific label that is being used for one of these new collaboration beers that we've been seeing, where brewers around the whole country brew the same recipe and then runs for a cause. We had one last week, the All Together beer that was raising money for restaurant workers.
Mm-hmm.
That's called Black is Beautiful. I love the name, Black is Beautiful, and it's been promoted by Weathered Souls Brewing in San Antonio. They're taking the recipe. You make this stout. It's a big, strong stout too. I think it's like 8 or 9% alcohol, I think. And local breweries are going to be making that beer, and then they can donate the funds to essentially to anti-brutality programs, and also to legal defenses for those who've been wronged. And a number of local breweries have already signed on to this. In Philly, too, Love City and Attic Brewing, our friends from Attic, and Evil Genius, and Double Nickel over in Jersey. A bunch of them are.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get it. I hope we can get one of the brewers on as a guest in the future so we can drink that beer.
Great. Why don't you you invite Jody McDonald into the room? I'll say what some other of our friends are drinking. I'm sorry, I always turn sideways. Bear with me. I talk to you, but I read off my computer. Gary Hill is having a Fermenting Like a Demon in My Closet, a New England IPA. It might be his own. Bob Banash, we talked about him. He's just saying hello. How do you do? Always nice to talk to you. George Bono is having a Cape May Cranberry Blog. And let's get one more here. We got it. We got Jody McDonald, Jody Mac.
Let's see if we can unmute him because there we go. Jody Mac, how are you?
If you're hearing me, I'm hearing you guys. How you doing this Friday?
We're doing great. And I get the hint just from seeing an arm across the screen that you're going a lot of off-camera help for this.
That would be correct. This is a Matty McDonald production, because yours truly is not much of a Zoom guy.
I was going to say, this is not your first time on Zoom, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well.
Oh, yeah.
Now you know how to do it.
I'm so old school. I'm a desktop guy. So I had to get my daughter to lend me her laptop because I got no cameras. With a face like this, would you put a camera on your computer? No, you'd avoid it at all costs.
You know, I'm not winning any beauty contests. Jody Mac, I'm drinking an IPA. Joe Sixpack is drinking a wheat beer. We hope that you have something in your hands.
I do. You instructed me, Glenn. I had to have the standard bearer. As always, there's cold blood at the McDonald household, so if necessary, I can go there. But my daughter is a more extravagant beer drinker than I am. You know, I stick with the old standards. And when I go out, if I'm going to go to a restaurant, have a meal, I'll try some. I'll try an IPA. I'll try something different than just getting a standard Bud. But my daughter likes to experiment, and she's got a new favorite called Zeds. I'd never heard of Zeds before, but she said it's outstanding. It's right here in Malton. As a matter of fact, they got an outlet here. So she got me two kinds. She said, Dad, I know your beer liking taste. I think you'll like either one of these. This is the Jersey Blonde. Zeds in Jersey. The Jersey Blonde, which she said is very good, not over the top, somewhat like the regular Bud stuff that I like.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was Copper Cream Ale. Zed's Copper Cream Ale. Zed's in the Backyard. Are you familiar with either of these two?
I'm familiar with the brewery. I've never had any of their beers, Jody, but I think you got two good recommendations there. Glenn and I are both big fans of cream ale.
Yeah.
I suggest you crack that one open and join us.
I'm going with the cream ale over the Jersey Blonde, huh? That'll be a first. Usually when in doubt, I'll take a Jersey Blonde like my wife. But if you guys are telling me Copper Cream Ale, that's what I'm going with. Now, my daughter said, make sure you open it away because they have, and I think I told Glenn about this, they got a funky amount. It's 9 ounces and change, 9.6 ounces. I don't think I've ever had a 9.6 ounce beer before in my life. They make their smaller ones smaller and their bigger ones bigger. They got big cans, 36 ounces, something nuts like that. My daughter drinks the 36 ounces, and I am uber proud of her because of that. But she got me the little one, so I'm cracking the cream ale.
I just figured you had huge hands, Jody. I was.
Yeah, we thought you had Andre the Giant hands there.
No, just regular. They could have been bigger in my basketball playing days. Would have made me better. Hey, you're right. This is pretty good.
Yeah. We are both fans of cream ale. We've done shows on that style of beer. It's a good style of beer. Joe Sixpack, the 9.5 ounces, you ever seen that?
Never heard of it. Never heard of it before. And I got to get over there and grab some of that sometime soon.
It's actually good. Now, I'll explain why, if given my own druthers, I would have gone with the Jersey Blonde. And I'm actually enjoying this, so thank you for your choice. There was a particular beer when I was a wee lad, let's say a matriculating college student, that was famous for its cream ale, Genesee. Not the highest of quality, okay? You could get a 6-pack of Jenny Cream Ale for just slightly over $1. When maybe $1.99 was highly priced. If you got it on sale, you got it for $1.50 for a 6-pack. And yeah, Jenny was not my favorite. Upstate New York was huge. Everybody drank Jenny Cream Ale. I drank Budweiser. Yeah, I was never a Jenny Cream Ale fan. And I think it pushed me away from cream ale for my entire life.
Well, see, Jody, you went to college in Albany.
Correct.
I grew up in Buffalo. Jenny Cream Ale is it Rochester or Syracuse?
Rochester's.
Rochester, pretty much about halfway between. You're a few years younger than I am. When I went to school, you could get a case of Jenny Cream for $5.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You get a 6-pack for about $1.50. So that does the math. And no, I'll pay the extra 40 cents. Even back then, when I was in college, when 40 cents meant something, to get myself a 6-pack of Bud. But that's just me.
You're living large.
I was then, and I am trying now. Let's put it that way.
Good. It's brewery in your backyard pretty much too over there, so that's
Zed's can't be 2 miles from my house, maybe 1.25 miles there and back in 8 minutes. I may be going there again tonight.
Good for you. By the way, Zed's is one of the ones in the collaborative that you talked about earlier, Joe Sixpack. Okay. Jody, we always as we're doing this, talk about what some of our viewers are drinking. Katie Ann is having a Jersey Juice. Her husband Justin is drinking a Philly Special by Iron Hill. We had that. That's a nice beer. We had that a few weeks ago. Lee Dorf is having a Vault of Hops and Clouds. Bob Banash is drinking a Ring the Bell Pils. Thank you. Conshohocken Brewing, we appreciate that.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's very nice. And Mike Monteleone said, I pre-gamed with some Lawson Sip of Sunshine. Now I'm into the Industrial Arts Torque Wrench. So there you have it. Jody,
that one I've never heard of. I can assure you of that.
Oh, we have a lot that we talk about that I've never heard of. Joe Sixpack knows 90%. I do not know. Here's one. John Henry drinking a Prairie Artisan Ales Phantasmagoria Double IPA. Jody, you had 3 or 4 of those this morning, right?
I have not, but I would be willing to try just because of the name. I don't know if it tastes good or not, but I appreciate that name.
Oh, there you go.
Well, great beer, by the way, that double IPA.
There you go. I knew you would know.
They're making some great beer there.
Jody, we've got you here. We got to talk a little sports, such as it is. I am so pessimistic that baseball is going to be anything fun this year. I know it is your first love. You grew up in the game. As we sit here on a Friday afternoon, what are we going to know in a week? What are we going to have in a week?
It's going to happen because the owners have the trump card of they can dictate the start of the season at a certain number of games. Can be as low as 46 or 47, 48, somewhere, and upwards of 50. They've got a slot of games that they can just dictate to players, yes, we're playing. Yes, you're showing up if you want to get paid. Now, when they do that, they have to give them 100% of the prorated pay. They're trying to negotiate down from the 100%, but play more games so that the players could actually end up making slightly more money. I don't think the players really want to come to an agreement. I don't think that's their goal. I think they're going to stand all over 100%, and we need more games. So that means the owners are going to have to dictate terms, and I think we're going to see a season with under 60 games in it, which to me is a fugazi season. If you're not even playing 1/3 of the season, then to me that's not really a championship season. And whoever wins the championship this year, Phillies included, it for me would deserve an asterisk. That's not a true season. Now the playoffs will verify it and justify it at least in some part, but it's still pretty damn weak in my eyes.
60 games just seems ridiculous. I mean, didn't like Joe DiMaggio hit like almost that many games in a row.
Did.
Oh, if they play a 54-game season, which is a number that's been bandied about, a player could get a hit in every game, and he wouldn't equal DiMaggio's record.
Yeah.
Every game.
Yeah. It's a shame, and I fear that you're probably right. We're going to get a very short, truncated, not a very fun season. I was feeling great about the NBA up until about the last day or two, and now it sounds like a lot of players in the NBA are reluctant to go out and play.
Here's the thing that I don't quite understand, and I have been on the internet all day trying to get the exact details on it. They picked 22 teams to play on. 8 teams are no longer playing. Sixers certainly being one of them, still playing. Knicks being a team that was said, yeah, you guys can take the rest of the year off. Supposedly, they're being paid their entire season's pay. So they owed 7, 8, 9 games, depending on what they played at that point. The players are being paid to not play. So the players on the teams, let's say 17 through 22, who are on the outside looking into the playoffs, but still have a chance to compete, they actually have to play and put themselves at risk to get the rest of their salary for the year. That doesn't seem right. If I was on one of those teams on the outside looking in, I'd say, no, I think I'd rather just stay home and cash my check. Thank you very much. So I don't know that the NBA is a lock to begin on July 31st as their target.
Yeah, I don't think the owners thought that one out that well. Because that is a giant kind of fly in the ointment, which is, the teams that have a 2% chance of making the playoffs, those guys are supposed to play, and they'll make the same money. They'll make no more money than if their team was out of it. There's not a lot of there's no incentive for those guys.
And the other thing about it is they could be eliminated like within 2 games. And then they don't even have the mathematical chance, but they're going to ask them to continue to play. Why? Because they need teams to play X amount of games to get a full year on their local TV contract, the affiliates that they have back in their local markets. So they're trying to get as many teams to qualify and have full seasons. It's about money, and I'm not trying to leave the players out of it because they're fighting for their money. The teams are fighting for their money. So there isn't a good guy, bad guy here, but everybody's chasing the money, and some teams will do so and make the playoffs, and their championship will be legit because they've already played 70-some-odd games. But don't kid yourself, all these returns are negotiated by money and how they can get the most of it without doing as much work as possible.
Are these contracts, I've always wondered, are contracts prorated? Are they actually prorated by the number of games that are being played? Because it doesn't seem very fair. It doesn't account for all the practice and travel and everything else that goes into an NBA season.
Yeah, practice and travel means nothing. You get paid for the 82 nights that you suited up in the regular season. Remember, nobody gets paid for the playoffs. Playoffs are derived in all sports from gate revenues and TV revenues in the postseason. And the players get a percentage thereof, but they don't get an actual salary for any games played after the regular season's done. You don't get paid for practice. Your check is broken down into 182s if they play an entire season, which the NBA is not. We know the National Hockey League is not, and baseball isn't going to come close to that either.
Let me tell you what some of our viewers are drinking. Ted Suda is having his last Bell's Two Hearted. Oh, you got mixed feelings when you open the last.
My fridge has got at least a 6-pack in it right now. So
that's a great beer. Pete Sauer's throwing back a Trogs Perpetual. Jody McDonald, wait, did you just start on that Budweiser there?
No, have not. I still got my.
Oh, it's still there. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sticking with the cream ale. You talked me into the cream ale. I'm drinking the cream ale like I'm told.
Fred Eichelberger, Warwick Farm, Maize for Days, Pilsner, Pete Sauer at Trogs Perpetual. I might have said that. Tom Sorensis, a Yards Brawler. And Jim Lean is having a Jenny Cream.
Oh. Bad memories. Thank you very much.
Jody, I feel best about hockey. I do. I know you're a huge hockey guy as well, and I feel like they've kind of got the plan, the piece, the system. I think that's the one that's going to work.
And I watched the Bettman press conference when he first had it and announced they were coming back and sorry, the season's over. Here's the way we're going to do it. I kind of like the whole top teams playing for seeding, so at least they're getting action, but they extended more teams on the back end to get more teams involved. I liked a lot about what they laid out, and it didn't play badly for Flyer fans. The one thing I don't understand is, and he said it that day, and I kind of understood it because they were targeting July. It's now 2.5 weeks ago that the NHL laid it out, and they said they've got 2 hub cities. One's going to be East Conference, one's going to be Western Conference. And here are the ones we're considering. And there were like 6 in the West, 4 in the East.
Yeah.
We still don't know where they're playing hockey.
No, I don't know why. I don't know.
How did you not say at least we're close, or here's the date, we'll make a decision by? Left it very open-ended and just said, we'll pick 2 cities. Well, how about you let some people know what those cities are sometime before you actually drop the puck, Gary Bettman?
Yeah, would be nice to get moving on that. By the way, Mario DePaulo, Jody Mack is the best. Well, there you go. Kevin Kiley, Jody is the best. Jody, your fan club is reaching out.
And they're drinking. That's not a surprise. If it's my fan club, they're probably drinking. And
all right, I got to comment on one. I got to comment on one thing. Joe Sixpack has basically his usual facial hair. It never changes. I have got kind of my pandemic beard going. It's a lot more than I ever had. Jody, man, your pandemic beard is striking.
It's a little larger than usual. To be truthful, I trimmed it down today, and that's just a trim. No, it's white. It's big. It's what it always is. I did shave the sideburns a little bit for TV purposes today, but no, this is my look. It's quasi-Santa. It's not the full-blown thing, but it works as a goatee, and I've been rocking it for a while now. And yes, it has gotten bigger. Thanks for noticing, Mr.
It's impressive. The shock of white, man. I'm envious. I don't have that. You know?
Face mask over that thing.
Oh, I have those handy, but I was pretty sure you guys weren't using them, so I left mine upstairs.
No, I think we're okay here. Have you been getting out at all, or are you hanging at home?
No, I'm just going back and forth to the store. I last did a show in New York on March 14th. And I remember because I went out and got gas the next day. I've gotten gas once.
Me too.
March 14th. Once.
Me too. Once.
I was down to a half a tank. I filled it up. I'm now down to more than a quarter of a tank. I actually need to go get gas. But that's almost 3 months. I've gotten gas once in 3 months.
Yeah.
We're saving ourselves some bucks on that, I'll tell you. Although it's cheap, so.
Yeah, it is. It's. I wish I could fill up twice, given the price. All right, before we let you go, Jody Mack, when am I going to hear you next on WIP?
WIP Monday and Tuesday. If I don't have any other commitments, Spike, our program director, has kind of settled me in for Monday and Tuesday nights, and that is the case in this upcoming week. Doing CBS Sports Radio on Saturday nights, 10 to 2. And at least for this month, I'm doing some Sunday nights on WFAN up in New York. So
he's everywhere.
Staying busy, and all I have to do is commute to about 3.5 feet to that direction down here in my man cave. So it's a solid 13-step commute that I have to come down to my basement to be able to do my show these days. I'm not complaining.
This is my studio right here, buddy.
There you go. Mine is just to the right.
WIP set me up. I got to tell you, it's going to be tough to get out there and actually have to like travel to do the show anymore.
And they're going back to charging for parking in Philadelphia. I could have been parking for free all this time, and I never went into the city once.
I think we all get together after this is over at Zed's and tip back a few of them, Jody.
I'm telling you, I can be there in 8 minutes. All you got to do is call. I'll show up.
Good.
Jody, you are a treasure. My best to your family, your wife, and your terrific daughter. Tell her our thanks for setting you up today.
My pleasure. She was more than willing to help her dad, and she'll be glad that I left the Jersey Blonde because she'll probably abscond with it now that I haven't drank it. I'll go back to drinking better than Genesee cream ale from your guys' suggestion.
Here's to you, Jody. Take care.
To you guys.
Thank you so much. The great Jody Mack. Always great to talk to Jody. All right, Joe Sixpack. We had one other thing we wanted to cover today, and I got the barbecue grill going. You know, I cooked a 14-pound turkey on my big green egg a couple weeks ago.
Oh, did you
Only took six hours.
full turkey? Like you stuffed it and everything?
I didn't stuff it, but I put that 14-pound baby on that thing, and I let it go for 6 hours, and it was pretty good. But it is the start of the barbecue season. You know beer, you know matching. You are great at this, so I want to just throw some foods by you, and you give me the style that you think best reflects that.
Let me ask you one thing, though. This has always troubled me. Is it barbecuing or grilling, or what's the difference?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think barbecuing, you put the top down, but I don't know.
All right.
I use them interchangeably. I just like to cook outside. It's pretty much it. All right, so I got let's start right at the simplest thing, the burgers, the cheeseburgers. I got burgers all over the grill. Anything goes with a burger, right?
It's true, but I would say this is the most basic thing to cook, burgers, cheeseburgers. Nothing pairs better with, it cuts through the fat of the burger and matches really well with any cheese and IPA. Just keep it simple. Any IPA is the way to go with a burger, in my opinion.
IPAs and burgers, my two biggest loves in life.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy. All right. I also, a couple times a summer, I get the whole rack of ribs going, right? The baby backs, the pork ribs, let them smoke low and slow. What should I be drinking?
Well, this is the time to break out the style of beer that I've often talked about, and I've gotten you to taste a few of them over the years, and that's a good smoked beer, a good German rock beer. It's a big smoky beer. A lot of people were turned off by that in a beer. It has sort of a bacon flavor, but let me just tell you, the pairing of that with a nice rack of ribs it can't be beat.
Sounds pretty good to me. Sounds real good. I get the smoke. All right, and then speaking of cooking slow and using the smoke, I'm going to make a nice brisket this summer, right?
All right, I've never ever grilled or barbecued or whatever brisket. I've never done it. I've only ever eaten it, and I love it. It's just so good. And I would dark beer again. Dark beer would go with that. A porter would really balance that out really well. Picks up the sort of like the caramelized, of the burnt ends of a brisket.
Yeah,
pairs great.
All right. Before I get to a few others, I just tell you because we put out on our social media. By the way, he is at beer_radar on Twitter. You're just at Don Russell on Facebook, right? We got no Joe Sixpack on Facebook.
That's where I am. You'll see me more often there. So
okay, and I am at Real Glen Macnow at Twitter and just my name and Instagram. So some of our viewers, Pete Carilla, great beer guy, says he enjoys the mix of a kielbasa from Kowalnex in Shenandoah, PA. And an ice-cold Paulaner Munich.
The Paulaner is just unbelievable.
Paulaner, excuse me.
It's, and one of my other recommendations, I'll just skip right to it, is with barbecued chicken, is that kind of a German lager beer. It's just perfectly, it doesn't blow out the spices. That's a great choice. I love Paulaner. It's a highly recommended visit if you ever get to go to Munich.
Munich. I'd settle for getting the Ardmore these days. I'd like to get out of my backyard one of these days. You kidding me?
Big here.
Andrew Colligan says, a couple weeks ago I had burgers and sausage on the grill from Carl Venezia Fresh Meats, along with some fresh brewed Conchi Brewing Type A. Nice work. That sounds good. Thomas Brett says, a warm can of ham special light and an overcooked Tops burger. I'm low maintenance. Sure, why not? Okay, let me get a couple more from you. I always, when I'm grilling, we talked about the burgers, baked beans with it. Anything I should pair with that?
Baked beans.
Yeah, why not?
Baked beans are foul, okay? I never eat them. They're horrible. They're
what?
A waste of good, perfectly good brown sugar.
No.
What's the point of them?
Everybody likes baked beans. They go with everything on the grill. Baked beans and a hot dog? No?
No.
Really?
A good beer on them.
All right. Well, you're not doing that. All right. Let's see. we have a few friends. I don't know why they're my friends, but they're like veggie people, right? They'll cook up some veggies on the grill, some eggplant, some squash, zucchini, whatever. Anything you want to pair with that?
Yeah, I mean, those are lighter flavors. They still have the smokiness, so they put out. I just cooked zucchini on the grill last night or 2 nights ago, and it's just so good. And I will tell you that zucchini, and this goes for also for seafood and other lighter flavored foods off the grill. You can't do better than a saison. Any kind of Belgian style saison will work because it pairs really well. It doesn't blow out the flavors, but it isn't overwhelmed by any of that smoke or that grilled flavor. So I always recommend saison as just a really good beer for almost any food, but in particular, lightly grilled food.
All right. This is this gentleman's name, Steve OG Breadstick and Hot Dog Guy. That's his handle.
Okay.
Oktoberfest beer. I'm going to try to read the name. Actually, let me back into that. A pulled pork sandwich. I'm in favor of that. Topped with a good slaw and a South Carolina style barbecued mustard sauce. I'm with him so far. With an Oktoberfest beer, he says, my favorite is Weihenstephaner. Which, by the way, drew some blowback from a guy who's got a Blue Star Twitter account, a Blue Check Twitter account, who covers soccer in Germany, ripped this guy for that beer choice.
Well, first of all, okay, I don't want to get into the middle of that from them, except that maybe that soccer dude does not really appreciate non-Munich Oktoberfest. Weihenstephaner is in Bavaria, but it's outside of Munich. So maybe that's one reason. But Weihenstephaner is the oldest brewery in the world. They make outstanding beers. I really like their Hefeweizen, which is another great beer to go with barbecuing. I'm trying to understand. I would like to know more about this person's thinking. Who was the one suggesting the Weihenstephaner there?
The one who was suggesting it was Steve OG Breadstick and Hot Dog Guy.
I would like him to invite us over for that meal because it sounds fantastic.
It does sound pretty good to me. Matthew Masari, who gets in touch with us a lot, says beer. Oh, I want to ask you about this. He says beer can chicken and Racer 5 IPA from Bear Republic. Have that. That's a nice beer. I use Tecate beer for the chicken with lime and Cajun rub. Yum. That sounds good. So my sense has always been, and I've done beer can chicken, I go through the fridge and I find either the worst or the oldest beer I have, thinking it doesn't make a difference. Joe Sixpack, does it?
I agree with you. I mean, I think it's mostly about keeping the chicken moist while you're cooking it. But this gives me an opportunity. I know that I've actually shared this pro tip, folks. When cooking beer can chicken, make sure the chicken is already dead before you stick the can.
I'm thinking you're about to impart some real wisdom here. All right. I know you're an anti-baked bean guy. I'm ashamed to know you for that, but you're not anti corn on the cob on the grill, are you?
No, I'm not. But
okay.
It's so sweet. I love corn on the cob on the grill. Actually, it's one of my favorite things. Just simple butter is all you need with it. I would go with something lighter. One of the other styles of beer, I mentioned saison before, but to me, the other style of beer that is often sort of ignored is just a classic Bavarian lager, like a Dunkel, which is a dark beer. They're not overwhelming, but they're malty and they have a little bit of a sweetness to them. They really go well with a lot of those, sort of lighter beers.
Magoo says sausage on the grill paired with a Pilsner lager is my favorite. I'm a hazy IPA guy, but Yingling Golden Pills or 2SP Brewing Delco Lager are my go-tos when I'm grilling. I will be trying Conshohocken Brewing Company Ring the Bell soon. Well, those are all good Pilsners. And pair well with sausage, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Although typically, when you talk about beer and sausage, you're putting it, I don't know how he's cooking it, but I don't know if you do this cheat at all, but sometimes when I'm cooking sausage, I brown it or grill it, and then I put it in one of those aluminum foil pans and finish it, and then pour some beer in with it there. Yeah.
Beer, and you chop up some onions in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that too. Just a couple other quick ones. Brian Sokolowski says, barbecued ribs with a nice stout. Do you have any recommendations for a good smoked beer? Well, we talked the style. Any smoked beers you recommend?
Well, the best one in the world is from Bamberg, which is sort of the home of smoked beer and made by the brewery called Schlenkerla. So I would really recommend reaching out for that. 2SP made a wonderful smoked lager.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's still out, but I hope they bring it back, and I would seek that one out as well.
Okay, Bob Benashwi, his name has come up a few times. Slow cooked ribs with a peach schnapps glaze and a Pilsner Urquell. Doesn't get any better than that. And Andrew Pope says, keep it simple, guys. A burger and an ESB. Boy, yeah, we didn't mention an ESB. That is one of my favorite styles, and certainly something that you know.
I agree. A malty ale, it really does go good with the grilled food.
All right, let me just take a quick look here and see if there's any other ones I really ought to get to. Anything else you want to bring up before we get out of here?
No, let me just reiterate my Saison advice. I always pass that along. If you're stuck for a beer, if you can find a Saison, they're not all that popular. You don't see as many of them, but of course, the benchmark from Saison is Saison Dupont from Belgium. I can't stress that enough. Wonderful beer to pair with.
All right. Well, Jim Lean says Joe Sixpack doesn't know what he's talking about. Love the baked beans cooked with, what does it say, sausage and bacon. Yeah, who doesn't like baked beans?
Maybe it's a gastrointestinal issue. I'm not sure.
Okay, that's a fine cop-out by you. Well, this was a lot of fun, and Jody Mack is always a pleasure to talk to. I was really hoping he had more optimism about sports so that it would carry to us.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I really want baseball to come back so much, but, the whole notion of a short season like that is just depressing.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take the next couple of weeks off. Might get a little summer vacation in, but we will bring the show back after that. Joe Sixpack, it is always a pleasure. I'm advice to you. I want to thank everybody for joining us today here on What's Brewing. Take care.